This is Kenneth Wong, Senior Editor for DE 24/7, the host of the DE Podcast series. Welcome to another episode of DE Podcast. This episode is sponsored by TotalCAE, part of the Leadership Profile series. Today we are talking to Rodney Mach, the president of TotalCAE. Rod, welcome. Would you mind saying hello and giving us some background information about who you are and how long you've been in the industry, please?
Hey, great. Yeah, this is Rod Mach, CEO of TotalCAE. So I've been doing high performance computing since the early 90s, back when supercomputers were running AIX and taking up large buildings. And then after leaving kind of academia, then founded TotalCAE to help manufacturing and in industry adopt high performance computing so that they could run simulation workloads. And so I've been doing that ever since. We've been in business for about 20 years. Helping clients of all sizes adopt high-performance computing and now cloud.
In those 20 years, what have been some of the notable trends in high-performance computing? And I'm also wondering if you could talk to us about some of the forces or some of the trends that are driving adoption, perhaps.
Well, always time to market certainly has been a key driver of high performance computing. And I think that trend has definitely been accelerating more and more and more, where products have to come out so quickly that, physical testing is now, being seen as a barrier, and we need to be able to do a lot more simulation up front. And as we've seen, with HPC, a big trend is just more and more CPUs. You can have, hundreds of CPUs per machine these days. So that is enabling customers to really drive their simulations down. Thousands of cores are easily accessible on-prem or now with cloud. Either way, you can access an enormous amount of compute horsepower to get your simulation back faster. Now, the one thing that hasn't changed in the last 20 years is HPC really hasn't gotten, I would say, any simpler. So it isn't like just buying an iPhone and it just all kind of works out of the box. TotalCAE still exists. Cloud systems are even more complex than on-prem, and all of that complexity from the hardware all the way up to the application. Still, this is still why we're in business after 20 years. Taming that complexity, making it easy for customers who don't want to be IT experts but want to get the promise of HPC. We basically let them, do that in a few clicks.
One of the ongoing debate about HPC is whether you should be doing it on premise or doing it in the cloud. I wonder if you have any tips or guidance, perhaps, on making the right kind of decision. What kind of enterprise or what type of simulation users would be better off going with on-premise, or what type in the cloud?
Really, the cloud is just a computer in someone else's data center that you can rent or buy. So I think it's it's not that interesting from a technology point of view, because the cloud is the exact same hardware on-prem, same Intel chips I mentioned, AMD, NVIDIA GPUs. All it's done is create a programmable interface to those with some different types of billing models. What happens is, the choice depends a lot on how much clients utilize high-performance computing. If you do a lot of day-to-day work, on-prem is definitely difficult to beat on price if you have a data center. And so many customers that we have do both. They'll do maybe steady state, their day-to-day simulation. We tend to have like heavy simulation users as our customers. They'll do that on-prem, and they do the cloud for overflow, burst work, access different kinds of maybe exotic hardware. Like new GPU solvers, you can, those cost $100,000, but you could rent them on the cloud for $32 an hour or so. So really nice to be able to access, to try and work out your models, on different types of exotic hardware. So for us, it's not really either or, it's both. And most of our customer base does do both. Now, some types of codes are definitely more conducive to cloud. Most of our client base is not limited by hardware. It's limited by C licensing. Unfortunately, even today, many C licenses are licensed by core. So if you have access to 2,000 cores, it doesn't really help if you don't have the licensing to drive it. Most of the CFD vendors these days do have license that's conducive, where you can get a type of license that lets you run unlimited cores. The biggest barrier to cloud adoption that we see is store bandwidth, downloading hundreds of gigs and bringing them back on-prem. if you have to. There's that's a whole nother topic in of itself on data transfer, or avoiding it, or just keeping everything in the cloud. But things that generate like hundreds of gigs of simulation data, those we sometimes see, being more on-prem. Those don't always scale as well. But yeah, I would say we've definitely seen a trend where now hardware is not a barrier, licensing is.
With TotalCAE, what the clients are getting is managed HPC. What is that managed part? What does it entail? Could you help us understand this? What do you bring to the table aside the infrastructure?
Yeah, that's a great question. So historically, HPC was a barrier because IDC has shown 90% of the cost is in the staff and the software and everything you need to drive, your application. And so that became a barrier. So TotalC was founded on the idea that you outsource that all to us. We provide all the hardware, all the IT team, your 1-hour help desk, with people that know the apps, and all the software. We have our own software stack that you submit and drives the whole cluster. When cloud came along, it's the exact same problem. Now we turned fixed infrastructure into programmable infrastructure. So we actually deploy in the customer's cloud. So whatever cloud vendor your IT has chosen, we deploy in there and run on their HPC infrastructure. And then now we've added things that cloud needs, like billing, being able to track all the jobs and how much they're cost you when you're being billed for all these types of resources. And lots of cost controls to make sure that you're aware if your simulation is not converging, that you get alerted early so that you can cancel the job or do some action.
So let's talk about your customers then. Can you give us a profile of some of the customers that you have and what has their experience been?
Yeah, we have mid-market all the way up to Fortune 10 and nearly all verticals. I mean, our clients build things from like medical devices, electric cars, consumer electronics. We have leading innovators like Lucid Motors, that is 2022 Motor Trend Car of the Year. They went from nothing to a complete, world-leading electric vehicle, through simulation. We also have energy innovators like Accelerate Wind, which we got an HPC Reader's Choice nomination this year with AWS. And then Owens, Illinois, won best use of HPC for their glass bottles in 2019. So most of our client base is heavily focused and believes in simulation. And then you can see how that is leading, to award-winning products, a level ahead of their competitors. And we're real proud to work with our customers. We're very much a services company, and we have received this year over 400 excellent ratings from clients. We offer a 1-hour response time so that our clients can meet their deadlines. And we always say you're basically a services company that provides technology to accomplish our clients' goals.
Very good. Rod, thank you so much for chatting with us and sharing your insights on HPC. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me today, Ken.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is Kenneth Wong for DE 24/7, and we are out.